Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. I'm very happy to welcome Michael Landolt and Umberto Annino from Microsoft. I hope you can say one or two things to yourself if you want to, and I'm very happy you're both here. And they will give us one of those yearned for AI speeches and the big challenges of data protection compliance in an AI world. And I leave the rest to you.
Thank you so much, and also great to see some of the faces I haven't seen for quite a while, being back in Switzerland. How much does my CEO earn? It seems that quite a number of people are interested into that topic. The question is why? And when we discussed that internally, I found two things, right? First of all, it's actually quite easy to find the CEO's salary. You just check the annual report, you use your preferred search engine, you maybe use AI to find it. At least for those of you that work in public listed company, it should be easy. For others, maybe more difficult. And when we discussed internally, I was thinking, well, actually, why is this important? And the colleagues actually told me that clients are asking that question over and over again. But in which context? In the context of AI, in the context of new capabilities that we have. So, voila, we have a problem of data protection. I'm here with Umberto Annino. My name is Michael Landolt, and we will drive you through a journey of what Microsoft itself has done in the recent years if it comes towards security. And then Umberto, based on that, will actually deep dive a little bit more if it goes around the question of protecting information and the CEO's salary. Let's start. This is one of the things, especially the CISOs, but also many security professionals knows quite well, the yearly threat intelligence reports. So have Microsoft the yearly threat intelligence report, but there was a changing one that changed a lot in mind actually last November. When you look at the report, it has similar indications as you probably have seen it for years, right? Increasing numbers, where there is on ransomware, where there is on prices for stolen passwords, denial of service, or any sort of ransom kits. But what we saw, and at the point in time, we collected 65 trillion signals a day. Meanwhile, it's 78, so an extra 13 trillion of signals. What we have seen is actually a significant shift in cybercriminals' tactics. And we monitor on top 1,500 groups, whereof 650 are nation-state actors, whereof 300 of them are cybercriminals, 200 of them are talking about, or are groups that try to influence. And then there are many more. And within that, we saw, well, actually, it's also what we face today is completely different compared to a couple of years back. We were thinking of, okay, what needs to be done to address this, to also help customers to address it. And the way out of it was one, to make security priority one. The CEO of Microsoft, Satya, was quite bold in not only communicating internally, but also going into public that security is job number one. And that really had an impact. And I know there are some CISOs in the room, they love to hear that, also for their own organization. Everyone at Microsoft, meanwhile, has goals for security in the performance system. So there is no Microsoft employee anymore that needs in one way or in the other way to work for security. Everyone has that set in the goals, and of course this also has impact to the bonus. The other thing that has been done in the recent months is heavily investing into the security organizations. For example, the CISO office was extended by 13 deputy CISOs meanwhile. We have appointed 34,000 engineers, security engineers on security. an additional 150K of partners that help us with security networks, with security cloud networks, sorry, and so on. So heavy investment into security. Meanwhile, that hasn't been seen in the tech industry. On top, a $20 billion over the next 5 years, only into security. That is called the Secure Future Initiative. And the Secure Future Initiative focuses on 2 outcomes. First of all, to get Microsoft more resilient, and secondly, to be quite transparent actually with you, with the customers, on what we do. And I think we are at a level of transparency we haven't had before. The second thing, however, is it's great to invest a lot of resources into security, but you need to become more effective. Myself, I've been in a CISO role for quite a while, before my job now, right? And I always faced efficiency question, reducing stuff and things like that, reducing costs. Security tooling is seen as something that can be very helpful here. Not only for ourselves, but then in the future also for the customers. We work on 3 principles, whereof the first of all, come on, secure by design. We talk about a very long time about it, right? But we're getting really serious about this. So whenever there is a decision in development, and there is a question between what is it that the market asks versus security, security goes first, no debate. Security always wins. That's completely different compared to before. Also secure by default. Everything that is rolled out has switched on all the security capabilities. It's not anymore the CISO needs to debate whether a particular security feature can be enabled. It's enabled by default. And then we discuss whether we're going to disable it and what are the compensating controls along it. And finally, secure operations. That's something we heavily focus on for 2 circumstances. Number 1, of course, we want to monitor what's going on internally. Secondly, we want to understand what's going on with clients that trust us. And third of all, we want to see what is the current threat landscape and what is the future one, and act accordingly against it. What we found, however, when we started with this initiative, is a very complex environment. And some of you may find yourself in it as well, right? Like having identities, maybe in different systems, having some endpoints that are maybe enforced or rolled out by the company itself, but then on top you have personal devices, you have bring your own device, and so on. So it's really, really complex work. You sit on different clouds, you have different operating systems of the tools that you rolled out, and. All of this actually very complex, and as more you have of that, as more difficult it gets to control this. Since November last year, we switched off 730,000 non-compliant apps within Microsoft. On top, we turned off or eliminated 5.75 million inactive tenants. So also on that space, very, very aggressive. But what we also worked on is actually, to help ourselves, and then as the client number 0, and then obviously also being in a position to provide this tooling to the market, we worked on unifying actually our tooling. And here we go. We talk not anymore about only Asia, we talk about multi-cloud. Google is there, AWS is there, we talk about multi-platform, Android, Apple, and so on. Windows, of course, Linux. And within that, we further developed a tooling set that actually allows us to do one thing, to leverage on the threat intelligence that we have, automate it as much as possible with Copilot. That's our AI solution, and specifically for security, we have AI for security. and integrate stuff with one target to become really more efficient and make automated decision, whatever indicator tells us. Now that piece, I think, is quite interesting then also when it comes to the CEO's salary and protecting information. And Umbi, you're going to help us with that.
Thank you. Hello. So my name is Umberto Annino, and I'm working with Microsoft for 2 years after some 20 years of, say, consultancy in the cybersecurity, information security space. And I often refer to myself as a security evangelist because when I get like a bit sick of what I'm doing, I think like, what could I do else? Like breeding dogs in a remote island, maybe. So basically, why am I getting sick sometimes of my job or what I'm doing? Because I'm telling the same story for now 20 plus years. And what is it? You don't even have to consider starting doing security if you don't know your assets. So knowing what assets you have, where they are, and how critical they are, that's the crucial fundamental part to even bother doing proper security. Otherwise, it's just patchwork, reactive stuff you're doing. So I've been evangelizing this message for almost 20 years now and still doing it. And what happened, say, 18 months ago, Microsoft started Copilot as a tool, the AI tool, everyone probably knows. And what happened with the pilot customers of Copilot? So we gave Copilot to a couple of customers, and they were quite keen on using it. And what did they, I almost said it, what did they search for first? There's another term, but I won't say it. So what did they search for? That's the title of the speech. They searched for the confidential stuff. And why? What did change? Basically, we gave them a cognitive-enabled search engine. I know Bing was not like #1 first search engine you thought of before that, and now we gave them a super Bing with cognitive capabilities. So you don't have to know where the stuff is, you just ask it. So you ask, what's the salary of my CEO? What's the salary of my colleague? What's the most confidential stuff I shouldn't even be seeing? Please summarize it. And Copilot executes. And that's what happened. So those customers, you can imagine, they came back to us and said, what the hell did you give us? This is Pandora's box. And the second ask was, can you make it that we keep the data as we have it, like without proper access control, super overshared, even the confidential stuff, but just make it so Copilot can't use it. And I was like, so you're asking me to tell Copilot to ignore some data because you didn't like really care about it for the last 2 decades, and now you want to use Copilot, but you don't want it to access the creepy stuff, but you also seemingly don't feel like you would like to protect it. So maybe we should like take the discussion back a couple of steps and talk about data governance. And normally the reaction I got when I wanted to talk about data governance is the same as you typically get when someone knocks at your door and wants to sell you some books. So talking about data governance is not exactly the topic that fascinates people. Still is not. Still boring. But now at least I got a rational, and we quickly told our salespeople at Microsoft, take the governance guys with you to the customers to avoid that. Because the customers, they wanted to use it, but they're not. And we wanted, of course, to bring Copilot into the market. So the salespeople were a bit reluctant at first and were like, whoa. So the customers, maybe they won't buy Copilot. Well, I said, well, if they do their homework first, and that's an easy thing, if you use the right tooling, then they might as well use Copilot and be happy about it. So that's what I'm going to talk about in the next 5 minutes. We have data security solutions or tools to help you use Copilot and other generative AI tools, whether you build them on your own, it's Copilot, one of the some 20 flavors of Copilot, or is it even like competitors' products or third-party AI of some sort, you can protect it. Not the AI tool itself, that's also in the scope, but protect how you expose your data, how data can be used with these tools. There's, with cloud services, you may know it already, the shared responsibility model that comes with cloud services generally. We also basically brought up a shared responsibility model that comes with the use of AI as well. So basically, simply said, we provide you the tools, and we do some safety implementation as well, and you still are responsible for making sure that whatever happens with those Gen AI is governed in some shape or form. So protecting the data and actually governing the use of your data is your responsibility, but again, without proper tooling, it's a challenge to get it to work. In more detail, I'm not going to dive too deep into this one, but as you can see, basically the use of AI in whatever service model you may deploy it is more or less your responsibility as a customer. Maybe it's a shared responsibility, and providing security for the platform, the technical backend basically, depending on the service model, is up to a responsibility of the service provider, in this case Microsoft or others. So this is, as you maybe know it from cloud services generally, this is the same shared responsibility model structure as it's used more generically for cloud services. So what do we have? We call it Microsoft Purview. It has actually like 2 or 3 names. So it goes under Data Security, which is more understandable. So you have to secure your data in order to make sure that things don't go south when using Gen AI. So what do we bring? Data security, data governance, and risk and compliance posture management tools, all in the Purview portfolio. So data security starts actually with the 3rd item here, information protection. And that's something, when I show it to my customers, they go like, oh, I didn't know I have that. It's a data inventory and classification service that comes with M365 out of the box. So you have it, you may not be aware of it, and it's already processing your data as we speak. It doesn't change anything. So you basically already have an inventory and a classification of your data, as long as it's in M365 at least. Other sources can be attached as needed. So we typically support multi-cloud services, so also other cloud services. You can attach SaaS services, other platforms to it, and it gives you an insight into your data. So you have reports available if you know where to look. If not, come by our booth later on, and I'll gladly show you to classify your data and then accordingly protect your data as needed. And then comes data loss prevention, for example, to avoid people or users, employees sharing confidential critical data with generative AI tools. So one of the number 1 questions when we brought up Copilot was, oh, how can I avoid my developers pasting critical source code parts into this ChatGPT and whatnot? So we will actually leak critical data or sensitive data if our developers are doing that. Data loss prevention is not something like conceptually new, and it's the same problem again. So if you cared about data loss prevention or data leak prevention before, then you just extend the scope to the generative AI tools. If not, it's a good point in time to start considering that. So data loss prevention to avoid pasting too much or too sensitive data into Gen AI or Copilot. So I'm always referring to whatever Gen AI tool you may want to use. Of course, Copilot we recommend. So data loss prevention. Inside risk management is basically the same thing as data loss prevention, but for the insiders, as the name suggests. So what we do there, we do on a trigger base, so on a case-by-case basis. It's not a real-time monitoring. We do risk score employees' activity based on triggers. So you can define trigger points, and from that trigger point onwards, the activity of an employee is monitored for up to 30 days, and the activity is scored. So say an employee is going to leave the company, has a termination period kicking in for like 3 months, for example, and when the person terminated the work contract or canceled the work contract, starts to download or exfiltrate data, sending emails to himself, writing stuff to USB sticks, printing out large amounts of data, that's an activity that would increase the risk score of this person. And this gives you then the possibility to use this adaptive protection feature, which then you can go and say, if risk score of an employee is above a certain threshold, limit the exfiltration activities that this employee can do. So you can basically restrict them from sending out attachments or customer data if a certain score is achieved. And as soon as they refrain from that activity, the score goes down, and they can take up whatever they need to do again. So this is what we call adaptive protection based on this so-called insider risk management. Inventory for more structured data is available with the data map, data catalog tools. Again, they extend to other services as well, and generally are available cross-service and cross-platform. So your data inventory, your sensitivity labeling that you can use is available in other services as well. And Copilot specifically respects the criticality of the data. So Copilot always acts as an agent of your employee or the user using it. So my Copilot cannot see more than I can see. But that again implies that the data is protected from my access already. So if I can access the data, so can Copilot. But you can label the data as confidential, for example, and Copilot will respect that label and use the output or label the output also as confidential. So if you ask Copilot to prepare a summary or a PowerPoint presentation out of confidential stuff, then that presentation will automatically inherit the protection from the source data. That's what Copilot can do, and that's what we can teach Copilot because it's our tool. But you can then still restrict the use of other Gen AI, for example, or at least monitor it. And e-discovery audit, all the activity is traceable and can be also searched for e-discovery case management. So everything a user does is logged in the system, including interactions with Copilot or other Gen AI tools. So you can also follow up on any interaction that your employees did. Communication compliance gives you the possibility to filter and limit the interaction capability. So you can, for example, restrict the use of swear words in your internal or external chats. Maybe people can swear internally, but not with customers. So you can streamline that with communication compliance, and eventually data lifecycle management, records management gives you the ability to also retain or archive your data for as long as it's needed. So basically, this is the entire capability set that we offer with Microsoft Purview, which is, of course, also applicable not generally to your data, but specifically in the context of using your data in the context of generative AI. So we have the tools, and you can, should, want to use them at some point. And again, the boring part, that's a good message, the boring part is sorted out already. So the data inventory, like looking where it is and what it is, that's already there. You just have to click on the right link, basically, and then you go to the fine-tuning and security control development and specification part. So that's basically what we provide for the safe and secure use of AI. What I did not mention, we do implement safety measures in all AI services we build, but that's a separate topic. I don't cover it specifically, so I'm the data security tool specialist, basically. But we generally apply safety measures. So you won't be able to ask either Copilot, Copilot Studio, Azure AI Studio apps, whatever you do with Microsoft AI something is always within a safety boundary. So you will never be able to ask Copilot or whatever Gen AI service we have in offer to basically tell me how to build a detonation device or something like that, which is maybe a creepy thing or a weird thing to ask such a service. So that's the safety filters. That's also always implemented and active. But that's basically that comes with the service. That's integral part of all the AI services we have. So this is the data security we quickly looked at, and the safety is also part of that. And if you want to have like more technical tools, then it's the Defender and the other security tooling we offer. That concludes my quick introduction, and we're open for questions for another 3 minutes, and then you can find us at the Microsoft booth down in the hall.
Thank you very much, Michael, Umberto. Nice to have you here. Do we have any questions? If not, I may have one. This is very impressive. But I was thinking now for single users, does Microsoft Purview also is enabled for just the person at home? Or giving, like a lot of people do not understand that having classified data also applies to themselves. So it might be a good idea not to, I don't know, easily translate all my banking information somewhere in the open network because it could be grabbed somewhere else. Is there some sort of also an awareness feature in there also that helps people actually, understand that they are, like about to, I don't know, post sensitive data somewhere they shouldn't?
Well, it's a bit different between the private users or offer and the commercial offering. Generally, with the commercial offering, we guarantee that your data is not used anyhow by ourselves. For the customers that require that, we have basically we have a cloud within the cloud only in Europe. So if GDPR or something like that is of concern, we can guarantee that everything happens within the European boundary or data boundary, as we call it. Everything, support, engineering, everything. So we have built another basically cloud in our global cloud to make sure that customers who have that requirement are served. You can, but you have to do it like actively, you can alert the users. So this is something critical you are going to paste. Are you sure? And you can either block it or have the user override it.
I mean, one of the things you can do, I have it also on my device, is this Microsoft Defender, right? If you have a Microsoft subscription, a private one, then it would already protect some of the stuff, right? But I have not seen, and I'm not the sales, I have not seen we selling Purview for private clients. Yeah. Maybe it would also be too much in private life, except you're really interested into it.
Depends.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not the full suite, but I think everything that supports a bit of personal awareness can be used.
Yeah.
But we have a question and 2 questions here, please.
Thank you. So I have a question about identity and access management. How does this fit into this picture with Purview, data governance, data security, risk and compliance?
So maybe you jump back on the overall one.
Well, generally, we call it eat our own dog food. So we believe in zero trust, and everything we do is based on our own like zero trust implementation. And so generally, as I mentioned before, Copilot acts as your agent. So the access control won't sort out itself, of course, but it's respected by Copilot in this case. So if your identity access management is adequate, then you don't really have to worry. If not, you can make it adequate, hopefully without a lot of effort. So yeah, basically it's respected, and you can up to quite complex rule sets, conditional access, and make sure that everyone only sees what they are supposed to see under all sorts of circumstances.
Maybe on the Microsoft side, what we do internally, right? It's the Entra is what is formerly called Active Directory. We leverage on the stuff that we have based on Zero Trust, right? And go even further, that if Copilot for Security makes some observations through any sort of indicators that we have, to deactivate, for example, a certain device or a certain user, that's possible. I don't know whether the question was on this.
It goes in this direction
Yeah.
as well. Can I ask Copilot to request access to some Teams share? Or things...
To request access and then it gets enabled. Well, you still
Yes,
need to
exactly.
have an approver, right?
Exactly,
At the end of
yes.
the day. So
else we don't know.
I haven't seen Copilot approving.
Of course.
We have one more question,
Yeah.
please, if that's okay.
What are the license requirements? Is it already
see what the-
peer review already included in Business Premium, or are E3 or E5 subscriptions necessary?
The higher the license, the more automated and premium the service. Simply said, so yeah, Business Premium contains it. Business Premium is basically feature-wise between E3 and E5. So it's not fully E5 like capable-wise, but more than E3. And E3 has the standard set, and E5 basically brings you the automation solutions and the more advanced, sophisticated stuff. So Insider Risk Management, for example, is an E5 feature, but that typically also requires some baselining first before you start with that. So yeah, there's like different flavors on the various license levels.
So thank you very much. I think we should wrap up here so everyone can go to different talks or stay here if they wish to. Thanks for
Thank you.
being here. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
talk.